Hopefully today's deck will tangle up your opponent and let you steal some sneaky wins. What's good, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. I hope you're still excited for Scarlet and Violet base set coverage because we are still pounding through. There are so many decks to cover. It has been a blast. So in previous videos, we've covered Ampharos, we've covered Miraidon, we've covered Gardevoir, we've covered Oinkalogne by the time this one has gone up, and now we are on to Spidops. A quick disclaimer in case people were not aware. The decks are built to face the other EX archetypes. They currently exclude existing archetypes. We wanted to showcase the best of what's coming. So if you enjoy the content, drop a like, leave a comment, sub to the channel if you haven't already done so. And with that said, let's dive right in. So we are playing for three Tarantula. I'm gonna botch that name every single time. So I'm going for the 40 hit point one, only because we're not factoring in the Comfey Lost Box stuff for now. So 40 hit points. There's a 60 hit point 2 retreat Pokemon one, which is probably the one you'd go with in the long run. But anyway, we digress. We are playing four. Yes, I'll explain it in a second. 4 of the new Spidops EX. So it's a 2 prize EX stage 1 Pokemon. So it has 260 hit points, grass type, and it has an ability. So your opponent's active has 1 more star in their retreat cost. So it's 1. So if they had 2 on the card, it's 3 with this in play. They do stack. So if you have 2 or 3 Spidops in play, they can have a 5 retreat cost or a 6 retreat cost, or 7 if they had 3 stars. You know what I mean? Like Spidops just makes the retreat cost bulkier. And why is that relevant? Well, the only attack on the card for a grass and a colorless does 90 damage, 30 more damage for each star in your opponent's active retreat cost. So the idea is to make it as difficult as possible to deal with and then knock them out with the wire hang. Not bad, right? But why do we play the weird counts of 3-4, right? Why don't we max it out? Well, we're gonna get a little cheeky today. We are playing 3 copies of the Evolving Skies Zorua. Take your pick. I went with 70 hit points, just why I went with it. But where things get, once during your turn, you may choose a stage 1 Pokemon except Zoroark from your discard pile. If you do, discard this Pokemon and all cards attached, and then replace this Pokemon with that Pokemon. So basically, Zoroark can Phantom Transformation into Spidops, as well as other cards we're going to include in the deck. So realistically, we have 6 copies of Tarantula in the deck to get out our 4 copies of Spidops, which is very, very nice. It's more of a defensive approach. Big fan with EXs being stage 1s rather than like V and V Max and V Star. That was just a mess. I'm so glad we're done with that. And continuing on. So since we're dealing on a deck that likes to focus on how many stars are in your retreat cost, I figured it was good to include the Leafeon from Evolving Skies. Yeah, Evolving Skies really had a lot of value to it. So it's in here for 2 reasons. It has the Greening Cells ability. So once during your turn, search your deck for grass energy and attach it to one of your Pokemon. That's really good if we go first, so we can get 2 attachments. But the other reason why it's here is it evolves into Leafeon VMAX. It's a 310 3 prize Pokemon. I know that's not really the best, and we're trying to stay with 2 prizers, but it has the Grass Knot attack, which does 60 damage times the number of stars in your opponent's retreat cost. So it is a stronger version of Spidops EX. It gives up 1 more prize, it has 50 extra health, but it hits a little harder. So 4 stars in their retreat cost because we have 2 Spidops. That's 240. 5 is 300. That's not bad. Again, we're trying to pick what we want to knock out, but making grass not hitting a little harder than the wire hang is nice. So that's why it's in there. And then we are going to jump into the very intensive support line of Pokemon. So we're going to spread them out a little more. We're playing 1 copy of Crown Zenith Bidoof. It has Bench Barrier. 1 copy of Industrious Incisors Bibarel, so we can top up our hand and then draw until we have 5 cards in hand. We are playing 1 copy of Radiant Greninja. Yeah, let's try it here. So discard an energy card from your hand, draw 2 cards. So Radiant Greninja is pretty much good into all lists as long as you're playing 9+ energy, I find. And then to take advantage of the Phantom Transformation from Zoroark, we are playing 1 copy of Mightyena. So it says if your opponent has a VMAX in play, it attacks for free. It does 160. When we factor in the Mew VMAXs into the equation, this could be more useful than, say, the Drapion. Then we're playing one copy of the Slowbro from Pokemon Go. So Twilight Aspiration, if your opponent has exactly one prize card remaining, take 2 prizes. So should your opponent get out on the prize race, i.e. a 1 prize deck, to catch up. But I know, well, we're playing in an EX bracket. We're playing in a bracket where there's no VMAX Pokemon, aside from our own. What do? Well, how do we get those Pokemon charged up and ready to go? Well, we play one copy of the Spring Bloom Sharam. So Sharam's in here for a couple of reasons, and it kind of influenced our accounts for the rest of the deck. So it says, as often as you like, you can attach a grass energy from your hand to a Pokemon without a rule box. Leafeon V is immediately excluded, Leafeon V Max is excluded, and Spidops EXs are excluded. You know who's not excluded? Tarantula. So we can Spring Bloom, set up the Tarantula, evolve it. We can also Spring Bloom to Mightyena. So we can attack with a Wild Tackle and hit into a Gardevoir EX, or hit into a Bayonet, or hit into anything really that is Dark Weak. Slowbro we can also charge up manually. We're not going to attack with Babarrel, but you know what I mean. We can still set up. It doesn't help to put it on the Zoroark, because when the Zoroark transforms, it discards all of that. So don't put it on the Zoroark. Put it on what the Zoroark becomes. So jumping right along, we have our supporters for Professor's Research. So it's the best supporter in the game. You got to argue, you got to make a very strong case to why we wouldn't play Research in really any deck at this point. Good luck. Discard your hand, draw 7 is still by far the best supporter. We're playing 2 copies of Zinnia's Resolve from Evolving Skies. So discard 2 cards from your hand. Draw a card for each of your opponent's Pokemon in play. So a lot of decks, especially in our testing, have wanted to go wide with their board. So Zinnia can let you draw up to 6 cards, but you discard, which helps the Zoroark synergy, which helps us get these in the discard pile. It allows us to have Phantom Transformation targets. That was the big reason. And of course, we are playing 1 copy of Serena. Again, we need more discard synergy. Losing Quick Ball hurts. It really does. Discard up to 3 cards from your hand and draw until you have 5 cards in hand. Most of the time it is in here to help discard things. That's the big reason why it's in here. But it has a secondary effect to switch your opponent's benched V with one of their actives. So it's a Gust, it's a Boss's Orders. But we also play 2 Boss's Orders. So we are not trying to reach for very large one-hit KO numbers. We are strategically trying to take out things within our reach. We are always trying to take out things within our reach. So we have the Boss, we have the Spidops, we have the Leafeon. That's the main strategy. Slowbro for coming behind. You can tinker these attackers to other targets. If we see water decks come back, you can look at the Raichu. You can look at, well, we don't have a thin enough hand for Suing Arcanine, but you can look at other targets. You can look at the Oinkalogne we covered in a previous video, because it can also Phantom Transform and attack for 1 energy. Yeah, I kind of stumbled into that interaction after covering that one, but again, figured I would share that one. And then we have 3 supporters as one-ofs. 1 copy of Raihan. So if we take a knockout, take a basic energy card from our discard pile, attach it to one of our Pokemon, search for any card in our deck. So we can charge up a Leafeon in 1 turn. We can charge up an active Spidops 1 turn. It's very, very good to grab us something in a pinch. We are playing 1 copy of Roxanne. So if our opponent has 3 or fewer prizes remaining, they shuffle their hand into their deck, draw 2. We shuffle our hand into our deck and draw 6. So it is just a little bit of disruption. It is a comeback mechanic, if there ever was one. So we've got Slowbro, we've got Roxanne, we've got a couple comeback mechanics in the works. It's not too bad. 1 copy of Clara. So we need some sort of recovery. If we're pitching energy, or if we want to get Pokemon back, we can choose 1 or both effects. Put up to 2 Pokemon from your discard pile into your hand, and put up to 2 basic energy from your discard pile into your hand. It's a bit of active recovery. We don't want them shuffled into our deck, so Miriam was not really a good option. And we didn't want just Energy Recycler. We wanted to be able to use the energy right away with the Spring Bloom Sharam, or to be able to reuse a Zorua and a Zoroark. Usually 3 I find is kind of overkill, so 2 is what we want, so 3 is what we're playing. But yeah, Clara just kind of gives us some active recovery so we can use the cards as soon as we have them. And then we are playing 4 copies of Ultra Ball. Best Pokemon search in the game. Discard 2 cards from your hand. Grab any Pokemon, reveal it, put it into your hand. We really need that for the discard for the Zoros. We need it for pretty much everything. There's no reason not to play Ultra Ball. We are playing 4 copies of Nest Ball. Yeah. Search for a basic Pokemon, reveal it, put it onto your bench. So, helps us set up in the early stages. We do need a lot of basics. We do need the Zaruas. We do need a Tarantula, a Bidoof. And that's the big reason why we're playing Bidoof, is I realized early into testing with Zoroark lists is you still need a copy of your basic for your draw engine. So you can cheat out the other things, but you cannot afford to cheat out your draw engine. Too many steps to jump through. And then we are playing 3 copies of Level Ball. So search your deck for a Pokemon with 90 hit points. It could be Shiram, it could be Bidoof, it could be Zorua, it could be Tarantula. So it grabs a handful of targets and puts them into our hand. Most times we're going to be benching those targets right away. The rare instance we will be discarding them, so they're good to have. So we went heavy on the search. We're playing switch, so you can switch your active with one of your benched Pokemon. It's just a bit of movement. Sometimes we have something in the active that has high retreat cost. Everything in the deck has 2. I really do miss Air Balloon, but again, we will make do. And then we play 2 copies of the Stadium Messagoza. I'm probably botching that. Once during each player's turn, that player may flip a coin. If head, search for any Pokemon, put it into their hand. So it bumps the Beach Court, which reduces retreat costs, which we do not want to see. It bumps things like Old Cemetery. It bumps things... What's the other one that I'm thinking of? Path to the Peak. Oh goodness, there's a few. But it bumps their Stadium, Crystal Cave, anything like that. Big Lost City. Oh god, Lost City, yeah. Don't want to see that one. But if it was Turf Field Stadium, that would be fantastic. But we lose it due to rotation, so we kind of got to make do. Grass definitely needs a stadium back, I think. But that will get us through for now. By all means, if you have a better stadium, please drop it in the comments below. And our energy count. 10 grass energy. And the reason is we would like to see them often enough that we can discard them with concealed cards to get us some value. At the same time, we also need some left over for Spring Bloom, and more often than not, you do find 2 or 3 of them in your prizes from time to time. So to be able to Spring Bloom multiple attackers, to maybe set up a Mightyena, to set up a Spidops, or to Grass Knot, we have to have a couple attackers in mind. Raihan is nice, Clara is nice. A higher energy count has been really, really nice in this format. So this is the list. I understand it's a little out there. By all means, let me know what you think. Let me know what you would do with the Zoroark engine, if you would do it any other way, if I'm overthinking it. By all means, let me know down below. And until next time, guys, take care.